I'm Councilor Carney. I'm joined by Councilor Green, President Hudson, Councilor Allen, and based on what I can see on my screen, I think that's it today. So we've got about a dozen items. I don't know, Commissioner Robinson, if you want to start off with your items here.
Jeremy, are you there?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, that's okay.
All right, so I think the first one is what, the sidewalk.
The 88 corners is the first one.
Yeah, it's the annual sidewalk agreement that we have every year. We're just asking the council for permission for the money.
This is just handicap accessible corners and curbs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, don't be.
Any questions? All right.
Do we have
Commissioner?
Sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry. I have a question, Councilor Carney. So, Commissioner, the ADA corners, right? How often? Because we've been upgrading ADA corners for some years now. So, is it like a rotation, a continuous thing that we just continue to keep updating the ADA corners?
Commissioner Robinson, we could have Mary answer that one if you'd like, since engineering oversees the implementation of our ADA plan.
Yes, this is Mary Robinson. We have a ADA transition plan that we were required to put together as a result of receiving federal funds. I believe we approved it and through the Common Council this past spring, I believe. So this is an ongoing program to bring all our corners up to current ADA standards. Off the top of my head, I don't know how many corners we have, but we have a lot.
And would you, Mary, check and see, because as long as I've been on the council, we've been doing 88 corners. Would you see how many corners you've done and how many, well, you'll know how many more, and how long is this process going to be? 5 years, 10 years, or does it just keep evolving?
Well, it's required that when we do milling and paving of our streets that we make sure that the corners are up to current ADA standards. So, so that's part of this program that the commissioner is asking for this money. But yes, I can get you the total number of corners and how many we need to do.
Okay, and one more quickie, and then I'm going to give it back to you, Councilor Carney. So you said it's required when we do milling and paving. So maybe I'm wrong, but I think at some stretch of even Washington, we've milled and paved that area several times, haven't we? There's been streets we've done over, or am I off?
Yeah, I mean, depending upon how many street cuts are in a road warrants when a road needs to be milled and paved again, generally speaking. So we need to make sure when we do mill and pave that we bring the corners up to current standards. But also in regard to this transition plan that was adopted about a year ago, we need to continuously work to bring all our corners up to current standards.
Okay, and one more silly question, but humor me. So if we mill and pave the road more than once, we don't do that corner again, right?
That's correct. As long as it's up to standards.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Counselor.
Yeah, and I guess to piggyback off the president, how many corners do we believe that we can do with the 300,000 that we've allocated here?
That's a good question. I would have to get back to you on that one, Counselor. I mean, I don't want to shoot darts in the dark, so I don't want to say a number, but I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yep, that's fine. If you could just, for the committee meet or the study session, if you could just have that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, I definitely will. So I believe the second one is me. If no one has any more questions on the first one, Counselor. All right. So the second one is our annual slurry seal that we, I think President Hudson, big fan of, right?
I oppose slurry seal in every aspect of it.
I understand. But that's our annual slurry seal. Come to you guys for the money to, I believe, it's cycle 4. I'm not positive, but I can get you that information. I think you already have it, but I think it's cycle 4. So that's our spill.
Yes, it is
Are we
cycle
open?
4.
We open for questions?
Yes.
Okay. First question, what's the dollar amount this year?
Let me look at the dollar amount. I believe it's
1.1.
1.1.
Who got my blood pumping? Okay, second question. Have they ever, because I know at some point, it may have been before you, but we had an agreement that they would train folks from the city. Has that program ever taken place? And if not, why?
To my knowledge, it hasn't. It hasn't been in my tenure, but I know we looked at trying to acquire some of the equipment and staffing and all that stuff, and the number was just way too high for us to actually do it in house. We don't have enough people. We don't have the equipment. We can't. We would not be able to do what Suit Coat does.
Commissioner, I'm not going to debate you all day. I'm going to let you move on, but let me just ask you this. 1.1 this year, close to $1 million the last cycle, another $1 million the cycle before that. At some point, wouldn't that money pay for the equipment and the manpower to be able to do that? Or maybe I'm off.
It would if we didn't do slurry seal for a few years, but I know we had that. I'm not positive what year it was before me. I know we didn't do slurry seal for a while, and it didn't turn out good on our street. So,
Speaking as someone who lives on an unfinished street, it isn't
And
good.
so did I. And so did I. But at some point, we just can't keep giving our dollars away. And I was on all the calls earlier, and I heard everything Councilor Bay said. I heard everything Councilor White said. And at some point, when does it make sense that we hire from within our city if we can find a way? We bond for everything else. Let's bond for the equipment and let's get it done. But that's just me. And I hate slurry seal. But okay, fine.
I'm with you. I wish we can empower our own people to do the job, but it's a tedious task for them to do the things that they do for us, Suit Coat, and it's manpower heavy, it's equipment heavy, it's a lot that goes into that, and I understand the pushback on trying to get it in house, but I just think
I get you, but you know what, Commissioner's tedious being poor too.
Yeah, you're right. I'm all in your corner, Prez. I swear I am. I'm in your corner. If there's a will, I'll try to make it happen. Just got to give me some time. I think that's it for me. I believe, unless what is it? What's the next one? I apologize, Counselor. I don't have my list in front of me.
Yeah, you have. I believe you have one more item. It says so on our agenda here for.
Is it street lights?
I think it's the MEM garage, which I think, Mary, are you more prepared to speak to the MEM garage? Wash bay?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So, the wash bay, we have to revise the letter because this is we went for the money in 2 phases and I didn't realize that they've already bonded for the money from last year. So you're gonna get revised legislation, for authorization for a new bond for $487,500. It's all one project. So last year's money and this year's money is going to be used to demolish and rebuild the wash bay. Specifically, this money is being added to upgrade the HVAC system. Right now, the garage only has a heater and no ventilation. So they keep the doors open, which is not in compliance with our stormwater requirements. So we need to have a full ventilation system in the garage. And also we need to do some drainage improvements for the wash bay, including a new sanitary line. So the total project is $1,011,500. The project is currently being designed and hope to go out to bid in a month or two and get the project completed this summer and fall.
Any of my colleagues have any questions?
Yes, Councilor County, I have a question if you don't mind. Mary, I'm wondering, is this bay out of operation while these renovations are going to be taking place?
Yes, during the reconstruction, the bay will be out of operation.
Okay. And so how is the department going to complete these tasks while it's out of operation?
I'll defer that question to Rich DeVesti if he's on the call. I think he's going to look for a place to take the crucial equipment that needs to be cleaned. Go ahead, Rich.
Yep, this is Rich DeVesti, fleet director. We have a wash bay at the school district. All the other garages wash them inside. The fire or the police garage has a small wash bay. We'll utilize that for some of the smaller stuff. But the main thing is just washing the sweepers. That's going to be the most important thing. As for the smaller stuff, we're going to have to live without for a little bit on some of the smaller equipment.
So there won't be any additional costs associated from having to replace those services?
Not right now. I haven't found of any place where there's a bay big enough for us to pull into. There's no commercial bays in the Syracuse area. Pretty much the largest commercial one was taken down several years ago. It was on 7th North. So everything else is just a private, or like Centro has their own, but I haven't approached them to wash anything there.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess the next item then is the streetlight repairs or work. I don't know who wants to tackle that one, Corey or Jeremy.
Counselor Ken Towsley here, street lighting manager. We're requesting a waiver of competitive bid for a contractor to address the street lighting that National Grid will be retiring the Glenwood substation and putting in new poles and power lines throughout Strathmore area. Harlan Electric is hired through National Grid to do the power work. We're looking to hire them as well to do the streetlights. They are competent to do the work, and that's where we're looking to go forward.
All right, so just looking into it when this first came up, I mean, if we don't use these folks, I would assume the amount of time it would take to bid out and do this, the Glenwood neighborhood would be without lights for, I would imagine, at least a few weeks, correct?
Yes, you're right, Counselor. We're talking weeks, not days.
And just, I mean, we assume, I mean, based on, previous experiences, I mean, not that we've done a lot of this, obviously, but I mean, the price seems, reasonable. I mean, what we would probably try and bid out for anyway.
Oh, internal communications with everybody. This price is going to be beneficial for us as a whole.
Counselor Carney, can I ask a question?
Knock yourself out, Auditor.
Thank you, sir. Ken, is this company, Box qualified?
I can't answer that now. I will get that information from them going forward.
Can you please, make sure I get copied on that?
Yes, sir, I will.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor.
And Counselor, I don't know if it's so much as a question as it is a statement. I'm hoping that if we contract with these folks, that when they do the takedowns or whatever they do, that they have the proper way to dispose of them. Because I ride the streets and I see a whole lot of stuff and I send it to Corey.
So, President Hudson, what we're hiring them for is the lights themselves, the arms, the fixture. I plan on utilizing them to use our existing arms that we have in stock. So it's not the pole itself. They're not changing any fixtures. It's taking down and replacing existing. So there shouldn't be any old fixtures or anything that should be thrown out by this contractor.
Okay, because they took a takeout and replace last time, and they put them all on the other end of Washington Street in the bushes.
And other places as well, yeah. And I have addressed the contractors with that. I agree with what you're saying, Council. Any other questions on this?
I'm fine with it unless there are any other questions.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Okay, looks like we're moving on to water. Commissioner.
Hello. All right, we're on what would be item 10, which is the fire hydrant replacement amounting for the cash capital. So we utilize this money for replacing what we qualify as substandard hydrants that only have 2 nozzles versus the 3 and don't comply to water requirements. And we replace approximately about 120 per year, but of those 120, 50 of those typically are hit by vehicles and taken out of service. You know, we have about 5,500 hydrants in the city, and probably close to 800 hydrants that are considered substandard. So this is an annual thing. We tackle as many as we can between replacing when new water mains go in, or if a hydrant gets hit, we replace it with a current code compliant hydrant. Any questions? Okay.
Sorry, I have one. Just
Sure.
How I would imagine that this would be something there would be grants out there available for. I mean, have we found grants and applied for them and been successful, unsuccessful, or is there not anything out there that we know of?
For a typical hydrant type of replacement, there's not a lot of grants that this would apply for. This is considered routine maintenance and upgrade of your system. And it's a small component where if we had a pump station that included, you know, pumps and mechanicals and electrical and SCADA and structural, that's where you get more of the grant money. It's more of a bigger project picture rather than hydrant maintenance type of stuff.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Item 11 is the valve repair and replacement appropriation, similar type of thing. You know, we have thousands of valves within the system, and as we locate a broken valve, we schedule them to get removed and replaced. And as we're doing new water mains, we are putting in new valves as part of the new water main replacement. So again, this is this annual annual ask to get our system up and running in the best way we can. Any questions?
Yes, I have a brief question. Do we know how old some of these valves are?
Yes, the valves range from 1874 to 2020. So we have quite a variety of valves in our system. And, you know, some of the oldest ones are still working just fine, and some of the other ones just don't work. So as we come across the ones that are broken, we schedule them to get replaced as soon as we can.
Okay, I see. And as it relates to the replacement of some of these, you know, much older valves, are there being proper precautions taken to prevent exposure to asbestos?
Typically, these valves don't have any kind of asbestos in them. These are cast iron valves with, you know, mechanical components to it, no asbestos type of components. This underground piping and valving typically doesn't have asbestos on it unless you are insulating the pipe for a bridge crossing or something like that, which we don't have too many of those in the system.
Understood. Thank you.
Counselor, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Joe, let me ask you this. You may not be able to, but there's actually, I think there's diagrams of the whole city, correct? You know where each of your piping and all of that good stuff's at, right? Or no?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
So I might be reaching a little bit, but I know because it has to be hundreds of thousands of valves, right?
Yeah, we
So
have
you
about
wouldn't.
7,000, over 7,000 valves in the system.
Can you pinpoint all of the valves? Do you have an inventory of them, or is that like impossible?
Yes, we have all of them that we know about. So once in a while, we'll find one that was paved over and no one knew about it. But all of them that we know about have been located and are in our GIS system.
Okay, I was getting to a point here, but I forgot what the point was. I'll come back to you.
So, like, as much information that we have from all of the old records, we have, if we have it, you know, the type of valve it is, whether it's a butterfly or gate valve, when it was installed, if we have that information, and hopefully, you know, the newer stuff as we're putting it in, we put in the valve type, the valve manufacturer, if there's a manufacturing, you know, date on it when it was created.
So the older valves, do you keep an inventory of them separately as you're replacing them?
No, everything's in one system. So it's whatever we come across, we identify it. And if it's an old one, new one, or one that just broke for a bad manufacturing process, we identify it and then replace it when we can.
Okay, and one more question and I'm gonna be quiet. So you said 7,000. So out of the 7,000, how many of the 1,800 valves do we still have left, if you know?
I would have to run a query on our GIS to get that number, if we have it in there. Some of these, we just don't know when they were installed. So the installation year is 0. But that's actually an interesting question. You piqued my interest. I might want to know that myself.
Okay, let us know. Thank you.
Okay. Item 12, facility securities. This is to improve our facility security by installing additional video cameras if necessary, lights around the buildings, intrusion alarms on the doors, and some additional fencing maybe at the reservoirs and or pump stations. Any questions?
Yeah, do we believe that the dollar amount that you have for this is enough to make sure that you can do everything to feel, you know, that each facility is secure?
This is a small dollar amount to start with a few small things. We just have gone through a large we did our cybersecurity assessment the other year, and we've just did an overall evaluation of our SCADA system and what improvements we should be making on that. That report isn't finalized yet, but there are some components of security that it has a bigger picture. We'll get to a bigger budget amount once we have a plan, a full scope plan to do everything going forward. This is just to kind of get some of these smaller facilities that have no security to them other than a padlock to get some kind of intrusion detection on, or upgrade the lights that have been broken, or potentially even get a video camera out there. Any other questions? Okay. 13 is similar request, and this is directly for Skaneateles Lake facilities. Out of the Skaneateles Lake facility, we have our chemical treatment buildings. We have our gatehouse, our boathouse, where we store our boat to go do our sampling out in the lake over the intakes. Again, just some maintenance of security stuff out there, upgraded security lights, some additional security cameras, putting some intrusion detection on the doors of the treatment buildings out there, just to kind of get us a little more secure and tie that back into our SCADA system. Any questions? All right, item 14 is our request for capital equipment. This is to replace components of our aging fleet. You have a list there here at the bottom. So we're looking at replacing a couple pickup trucks, some of our trailers, our air compressors, a forklift that we've had since 1999, and a couple of our generators that have high hours on them. Any questions on this? Okay, item 15 is the request for I might have had these backwards. This is the Jefferson Street request. Jefferson and Montgomery Street request a bond for water main replacement as part of the downtown mill and pave coordination effort we are doing with engineering. We're going to be lining approximately 2,500 feet of the 24-inch water main on Montgomery Street and replacing approximately 1,600 feet of the 16-inch water main on Jefferson Street. Any questions?
Yeah, just one quick one. Go ahead, Counselor. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, and I don't know, Jeff, if you're going to be able to answer this, but have we, coordinated with anyone and everyone that may need to go dig up everything after we do this project? So we're not replacing everything, making a nice street, and then 6 months later, someone else decides they got to go dig it up?
I agree with you. So with engineering, we've been coordinating also with National Grid, and we're actually going to be teaming kind of on a block of Jefferson where we'll do a portion of the work and then they'll finish it, because we're going to be impacting their work area as well. So we've been trying to work as closely as we can with National Grid because they have work going on Jefferson and Montgomery. So I think engineering has also made some calls to Verizon. I'm not sure if Verizon ever responded. But we've also been working with the downtown committee to let the property owners know that there's going to be an impact to some short impact to service, but the goal is to kind of keep everyone in service during this construction. The biggest thing with this one is that on Montgomery Street, it's going to be a lining project, so you won't have the large excavations like we did on Salina Street. You'll have some pit excavations at the intersections, and then we'll line underground and keep the roadway surface for all intents and purposes, more or less untouched until we do a water service or have to do a hydrant branch, where Jefferson is going to be more of the open trench excavation. Any other questions?
This is Mary Robinson again. Yes, we have been trying as hard as we can to coordinate with all the other utility companies. Will we be successful in that a cut won't be needed on these newly milled and paved streets? Probably not, but nothing makes us more mad in engineering than seeing a cut, freshly paved street. But we're trying to coordinate work with the new 5G facilities that they want to install downtown, Verizon, another fiber optic company that wants to put some conduit downtown. It's a really huge challenge coordinating with all these utility companies, but we've been trying like heck to reach all of them and coordinate this the best we can.
So Mary Robertson, question for you. So if you give them a deadline, and after that deadline, could we charge a different fee structure?
I think what we're planning to do, President Hudson, is the legislation that was passed a few years ago. We have a moratorium after a street's milled and paved. A fully reconstructed street, such as the connective corridor, has a 7-year moratorium, but these downtown streets are just the top courses of asphalt, 3.5 inches of asphalt. So that would have a 5-year moratorium. So I think if somebody comes and needs to make a cut in this freshly paved street, we're probably going to make them mill and pave like a whole rectangular section from curb to curb, so that it's still not going to be perfect, but it won't be like a small rectangle out of the whole road. That's our that's what we're thinking right now. But technically we can say, no, you can't cut in the street for the 5-year period. We don't have an increased fee per se on the ordinance for if they do cut within the 5-year period. I guess we could consider that. But that's not currently in the ordinance.
And we could just say no too, because at some point, people can't just keep coming in here doing what they want to do. If we tell folks this is what we're doing and we're spending all of this money to mill and pave, and then they want to show up 3 weeks later after they didn't respond to you, then just tell them no. But that's just my thought.
Nope, that's correct.
And last item we have is the BrightNav water main replacement project. This is in conjunction with our BrightNav pump station replacement project. We've already bonded and are working on the pump station component to build a brand new pump station on BrightNav and replace the old one. And so this would be to replace about 3,900 linear feet of water main along Brighton and I guess the tail end of East Seneca Turnpike up towards Nob Hill to end at the city line. BrightNav is one of our problematic water mains. I think we've had at least 20 breaks on that main over the last 10 years. So this is a good project that we want to get done so we don't have to go back to that section of BrightNav. Any questions? All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so with that, I'm going to make a motion to move all 12 of the items on the agenda. Do I have a second?
Councilor Carney, I just wanted to mention that we just didn't go over the RFP for the garage operator, which I'm okay with, but I just wanted to make sure that councilors were aware that it's on the agenda.
Sorry, yeah, I think we skipped over that when we went over to water, didn't we?
It's okay. So we, issued an RFP for the operation and maintenance of our 5 city-owned garages. Councilor Carney and President Hudson were on the RFP committee. We received 9 proposals. We reviewed the proposals. We did interviews with select candidates, and we have selected Laz Parking as the selection committee has recommended that the contract be awarded to Laz Parking, which currently operates 2 of our garages.
Corey, do you know about approximately how much revenue is supposed to be brought in by the garages?
So this is, I mean, we can make, this is part of our ongoing issue, and that's why we really wanted to get a single, one of the many reasons why we wanted to get a single operator for our garages. I can certainly provide to you our best estimate. Part of the issue is that historically there hasn't been, in terms of, does that include capital improvements, or does that include, I mean, on an annual basis, I think we could certainly provide that information, but we really want to work with this operator so that we can have a more holistic view of, sure, it looks like it generates revenue, but we're not taking into account how much we just put into it in capital expenses. So I can certainly get you that information, Counselor.
Thank you.
Corey, how long is this contract?
It is for 3 years, and we have 2 optional 2-year extensions.
Okay.
And included in the RFP was our ability to move to a cashless system so that we can begin in 2021 to accept credit cards and other types of payment in our parking garages, which will hopefully impact, hours of operation and also the amount of actual staff that we need to have in garages.
Will you be retaining the ability to accept cash?
Yes, I mean, cash will still be an option. It's just that, so many folks, expect there to be some other alternative as well. That's all for me.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay, now that we've actually gone over all the items, can I make I'm gonna make a motion to just move all 12 items. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. With that, all those items are moved onto our agenda, and meeting's over. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.